This is a sports catastrophe production. Hey there, hello there, ho there. It's Jeff Cutter down and welcome you to another sports catastrophe birthday boy. And the birthday boy for today, August the 25th, is a baseball malcontent, as they call him sometimes. One of the best sluggers in the 1990s. He played for Cleveland, Chicago, with the White Sox, and Baltimore. He had 50 doubles and 50 home runs in a season. The only player to ever do that in 1995, and it's amazing. Like all the great legends who home run hitters who could be doubles hitters. Even Barry Bonds never did that. But anyway, he was a five-time All-Star with a 295 career batting average, averaged more than 37 home runs every year in the 90s, and he's one of 6 players in MLB history to have 9 consecutive 100 RBI seasons. His name is Albert Belle, who's now 56 years old. Albert Belle and his fraternal is a twin. His fraternal twin, Terry, was born in Shreveport, Louisiana. Now, a fraternal twin is different than an identical twin. An identical twin is you look the same. A fraternal twin is you're born as twins, but you look so much different. Anyway, Albert Belle, after graduating high school, went to Louisiana State to play college baseball, and LSU was a pretty good school. It was a pretty good school and all that. Anyway, he looked pretty good. He played in the Cape Cod Baseball League, where a lot of collegiate players play, collegiate summer baseball. He was supposed to play in the College World Series in 1987, but he had an incident where a heckler insulted him with racial epithets in the SEC tournament, and he basically got in trouble for that. But in the second round of the 1987 baseball draft, the Indians drafted him. So he was doing pretty well for himself. So he looked pretty good for himself. Belle would become the 4th player to have 8 straight seasons of 30 home runs and 100 RBIs, joining the great Babe Ruth, Jimmy Fox, Lou Gehrig, Albert Pujols. Well, he joined Babe Ruth, Jimmy Fox, Lou Gehrig. He was the 4th player to do that. However, 4 more players, Albert Pujols, Rafi Palmeiro, Manny Ramirez, and A-Rod, would join him. But he was a good base runner. He had 23 steals in 1993 and 17 steals in 1999, despite his hip problems. He led the American League in RBIs 3 times in total bases, and twice in slugging. He was pretty strong and all that. Unfortunately, though, his defense was not much to be desired. Belle's career highs of home runs, RBIs, walks, runs, and batting average were in 5 separate seasons. He had prime value. Our Belle almost became the 5th player to hit a home run over the left field roof at Tiger Stadium. He would have joined Harlan Killebrew, Frank Howard, Cecil Fielder, and Mark McGwire. But the ball struck the light tower on top of the roof and carried back into the stands. No big deal. Albert Belle almost had the batting title, but lost it to Paul O'Neill. But 94 was a strict shortened season, so Belle got ruined of a batting title. In 95, he became the 1st player to hit 50 home runs, 50 doubles. The last player to do that, 40 homers, 40 doubles, was Willie Stargell in 1973. And Belle only played 143 games because of the strike shortened season. Unfortunately, Belle had an anger streak. His reputation and disdain in the media possibly cost him votes for the 95 MVP. He ended up 2nd to Mo Vaughn of the Red Sox. Even though he led the AL in runs, home runs, RBIs, slugging percentage, and total bases. He basically had Mo Vaughn beaten in every category. Both players' teams made the playoffs, but Belle's made the final. But of course, when it comes to regular season accolades, they don't count the playoffs too. Belle would have a terrible streak. He was 3rd in 94 in voting, 2nd in 95, and 3rd in 96. He just couldn't get it done. And the writers held it against him because of his bad personality. Although I would say that Belle deserved it. I mean, when you hit 50 home runs and 50 doubles in a season, why don't you give him the MVP when there wasn't anything major in '95? And Cleveland was the best team in baseball. Well, he became a free agent in '96 and signed with the Chi Sox for 5 years, $55 million, or $11 million per year. He was the first player in baseball history to hit $10 million a year. He enjoyed 2 great seasons in Chicago and almost did the 50-50 thing again. He had 49 home runs, which is the White Sox team record to this day, and 48 doubles. I was like, wow, this guy looked good. He had 152 RBIs, breaking the old mark in 1936 of Seek Bonera's 138. It's like, wow, 150 RBIs in that season. And it's still a White Sox record. And this is the 98 season that saw baseball just pay attention to the McGuire-Sosa home run chase. Ken Griffey Jr.'s home run heroics was basically avoided. I think A-Rod got avoided, and Belle's thing got it. Belle's contract with the White Sox had a clause that allowed him to demand to be one of the 3 highest paid players in baseball. And he decided to invoke the clause in '98, October '98, and the White Sox didn't do it. They just made him a free agent. So he would sign a 5-year, $65 million contract, or $13 million a year with the Orioles. Unfortunately, 2 years later, he would have hip arthritis, which would degenerate and would put him in deep trouble. But he was put on Baltimore's 40-man roster for the next 3 years as a condition of the insurance policy, which largely reimbursed the Orioles for the remainder of his contract. So the Orioles would have been on the hook for his money if they didn't put him on the roster, which they did. Kind of greedy, but it doesn't matter. So anyway, Albert Belle did pretty good for himself. 381 home runs, 295 batting average, 1,239 RBIs, 389 doubles. Not bad. But in the postseason, he wasn't really that good. He did get 6 home runs, but he batted .230. Albert Belle had a lot of controversy. In 1990, he was sent to the Cleveland Clinic for alcohol rehab. And that was when Albert Belle decided to change. Well, he was known as Joey Belle. Now he had to go to Albert Belle. And yes, there are baseball cards saying Joey Belle. Belle was given a 7-game suspension in '94 for using a cork bat. And Belle sent his teammate Jason Grimsley through the building's ceiling panel to break into the locked umpire's dressing room to replace his cork bat with a teammate's bat. A lot of things were that. Unfortunately, Albert Belle had problems with Fernando Fina of the Brewers when the Brewers were in the American League. Belle on a play would body slam Fina, who was going to tag him out, but he slammed him. And sports reporters did not like Belle's refusal to grant interviews before a game. He had a massive outburst with the media before the '95 World Series and didn't apologize. Anyway, yeah, Albert Belle was nuts and all of that. He had a lot of problems. He would take a bat to other teammates' possessions and wanted the clubhouse to be cold, below 60 Fahrenheit. All that. The Indians only tolerated his stuff because he was a good slugger. And people say that, his frosty relationship with the media is going to cost him the Hall of Fame thing. In 2006, he only gathered 7% of the writers' votes. He definitely couldn't get into the Hall of Fame. However, the next year in 2007, he only got 3.5% of the votes, meaning that he was off the ballot. All that. Albert Belle was inducted 2016 to the Cleveland Indians Hall of Fame, but nope, he didn't want to do it. Anyway, Albert Belle was in trouble in '95 because teenagers wanted to go for trick or treating at Belle's house. But he turned away. They were egged, and then Belle found one of the trick or treaters and chased him. He was fined for reckless operation of vehicle, and the guardian of the teenager later sued Belle because he said that Belle's car had bumped into the teenager. The lawsuit was settled. Belle was sentenced to jail, 90 days jail, 2006, because he stalked his former girlfriend. Anyway, yeah, he was pretty good. All that. Home run leader, RBI leader, doubles champion. He looked pretty good in the 1990s. Unfortunately, his frosty relationship with the media cost him the 95 MVP, and basically was full of himself. His anger would just be too much to bear, and people just ignored him. That's the way I think. But it's just my opinion. Anyway, I'm Jeff Diamond. I do.